Let's talk about people who grew up in the 90s. There's something different about them, right? It's like they have this unique blend of old-school grit and modern-day savvy. Today, we're going to dive in and really break down what makes the last of the analog kids tick.
So what is it exactly that sets them apart? Is it the way they can just be in a moment without feeling the need to pull out a phone and document it? Or is it that they have this living memory of a world before instant everything? It's such a cool question because they lived through a tectonic shift that no generation before them did and no generation after them ever will again.
And that brings us to the first big idea. They are, in a very real sense, the bridge generation. You gotta picture them standing with one foot planted firmly in the analog past and the other stepping confidently into our digital future. That unique position created a mindset that is totally one of a kind.
To put it another way, they were old enough to remember what it was like to use a payphone or rewind a cassette tape with a pencil, but they were also young enough to jump on board with smartphones and social media without missing a beat. And that dual experience is the absolute bedrock of their entire psychology. They really get what was lost and what was gained.
I mean, just look at this. They learned how to fold a paper map and how to follow a GPS. They spent hours making the perfect mixtape and hours curating the perfect Spotify playlist. They're basically bilingual, fluent in these old, extinct technologies, but also completely native to the tech we can't live without today. It's a superpower, really.
So this whole two worlds thing leads directly to our first major psychological trait, the art of waiting. Yeah, you heard that right. What seemed like a massive pain back then was actually, believe it or not, powerful training for your brain. All that slow, clunky 90s tech was building a mental muscle that's getting kind of rare these days.
Oh my gosh, does this bring back memories? You'd finally find that one song on Napster, click download, and see that progress bar, estimating 2 hours. And then you'd just have to pray that nobody in your house picked up the phone and broke that dial-up connection. It was an exercise in pure, unadulterated patience.
But here's the thing. That incredibly frustrating wait wasn't just a waste of time. It was secretly teaching you something fundamental. It was hammering home the lesson that good things often take time, and sometimes the waiting and the anticipation make the payoff even sweeter.
And get this, there's actually a scientific term for it: delayed gratification mastery. Neuroscientists have found that brains raised in an environment where you just have to wait are wired differently than brains raised in our world of instant everything. It builds grit, persistence, and the ability to stay focused on a goal that's way off in the distance.
Okay, let's move on to the next point, which is, honestly, it might be the most important one. People who grew up in the 90s were the last to have a truly private, undocumented childhood. And the psychological impact of that, it's absolutely massive.
Just let that sink in for a second. Your mistakes got to fade. When you did something totally embarrassing, it lived on as a story, not as a viral video. That awkward phase with the bad haircut and weird clothes, there's no permanent digital archive of it for the whole world to see. Your cringe moments actually stayed in the past.
And what that created was this incredible psychological freedom. You had the freedom to just try stuff on, to figure out who you were, to fail spectacularly, and to just be weird, all without creating a permanent record that would follow you forever. You could actually reinvent yourself. This meant so much less pressure and a lot less of the social anxiety and perfectionism we see when every single moment feels like it's being performed for an audience.
And that idea of permanence ties right into our next point, living life without a backspace button. See, the lack of digital convenience in everyday life builds some really crucial skills. Things like resourcefulness, commitment, and good old-fashioned accountability.
Think about just making plans with friends. You'd make one phone call to their house, talk to whoever picked up, agree on a time and a place, and that was it. You just had to show up. There was no, hey, running 5 minutes late text. If you weren't there, people would leave. Your word was everything, and you learned really fast that being reliable matters.
And this went way beyond just meeting up. If you got lost driving somewhere new, you couldn't just whip out your phone. You had to pull over, unfold a giant paper map, or, get this, ask a total stranger for directions. You had to actually think, adapt, and solve the problem right there in the real world. You were building mental toughness without even realizing it.
Okay, so let's tie all these threads together. What does all of this add up to? Well, you could call it the analog advantage. All of these experiences that might seem outdated or inconvenient now, they were actually forging a set of incredibly powerful and very modern skills. Let's just break it down. Being bored out of your mind forced you to be creative. Having a limited number of CDs taught you how to really value and curate your choices.
Not having a GPS built real resourcefulness. Not being able to pause a TV show trained you to be present and to focus. Even something as simple as going to Blockbuster and finding out the movie you wanted was gone, that taught you how to deal with imperfection and discover something new.
So what you end up with is this really unique, balanced mindset. They're tech-savvy for sure, but they're not addicted. They can be fully present in a conversation, but they're not totally disconnected from the world. They appreciate the simplicity of the past and the convenience of the future, and they know how to switch between the two.
And all of this leaves us with one last big question to chew on. We live in a world that is constantly screaming that more is better, that infinite choice is the ultimate goal. But the experience of the 90s kid suggests something else entirely. In a world of infinite choice, what is the real value of a limitation? Maybe it's the very thing that builds our creativity, our focus, and ultimately our character. It's definitely something to think about.